episode of tutorials, tips and tricks. Today I want to talk about my mouse and keyboard configuration and show you guys how I configure my keyboard, my mouse, and to give you some ideas. Maybe there's something new for you to adapt to your own configuration. And I would like to get started with my mouse configuration, so let's quickly hop into the settings menu. Okay, at first I'd like to talk about my sensitivity settings. I've set my mouse sensitivity to a value of 1, and also the zoom sensitivity is set to 1. My mouse sensor is configured with a DPI rate of 1000 DPI, and I've enabled raw input and mouse acceleration is set to 0. With the setting of 1000 DPI, this gives me quite a nice accuracy while shooting. And if I just, for example, if I start with my mouse to the very left side of my mouse pad and then move my mouse completely to the other side of my mouse pad, you can see that I approximately make a 180-degree turn by moving my mouse completely from the left to the right side. So for a 360-degree turn like this, so I start here, I'm actually required to move my mouse twice across my mouse pad. This might seem low for you in the first place, but actually in-game it gives you great accuracy, and I really like this settings. Now, I needed some time to get used to it, but in the end it works out perfectly. Okay, now I'd like to talk about my keyboard setup and some extra buttons on my mouse. And to make this more visible and more interesting for you guys, I will not show you the configuration list, but instead I've prepared some nice graphics for you. Let's get started with the mouse. Of course, I have bound the primary and secondary fire options to my left and to right mouse key. And as you can see, jumping is bound to my mouse wheel, so I can either scroll up or scroll down in order to jump, which makes, for example, bunny hopping easier in game. Next, I bound the inspect weapon key also to my mouse because I like to play around with the weapon, and something which is much more important, I bound the in-game voice to a thumb button on my mouse. This is actually very convenient and makes talking in-game with using the in-game voice much easier than in comparison to when it's bound to your keyboard. Talking about the keyboard, now I'd like to introduce you to my keyboard settings. Of course, I have the movement placed on WASD, and walking is placed on Shift. And next we have the crouching key. The crouching key is actually bound to C. This is some kind of legacy from myself. I used this in other first-person shooters in the past, and I kind of got used to it. So in my case, I just bound it to C. Next is the reload and use buttons. I use E and R for this purpose. And last but not least, I have the drop weapon and last weapon option bound to Q and G. Actually, the last weapon command is, in my eyes, very important for the fast scoping when you are playing the AWP or the scout. Also, of course, I have bound the buy menu to a key, but actually, as I've told you in my previous tutorial video, I actually don't use the buy menu that much because I've bound my standard weapon to numpad. However, of course, you need the buy menu, and I've bound this to N. Next are the grenades. I'd like to start with the flash grenade, which is bound to F for I don't know which reason, maybe because flash starts with an F. However, the smoke is bound to a key next by, which is V in my case, and the HE grenade is put on B. The advantage of this is, in my eyes, that I can switch my grenades with my thumb, and since I don't need my thumb to use on the space bar to jump, I have it free to quickly select the grenades or the main grenades I need. But of course, I also need to sometimes switch to the Molotov or the decoy grenade, and I've put this one on 4 and 6. In the end, of course, you also need to switch to your main weapons, and I can just recommend you guys to get used to switch your weapons with the number keys on your keyboard. So the primary weapon is on 1, the pistol is on 2, the knife is on 3, and the bump is on 5, which is the default setup. if you get started playing CSGO, it might seem easier to scroll with your mouse wheel through the weapons, but in the end, it's much better to have your weapon settings, to your weapons bound just to single keys, so you always pick the weapon you really need. It takes some training, but in the end, it pays off. Next, I want to quickly go into some special keys. The first one is the jump throw key. Actually, the jump throw is something very important for some grenades. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube. Maybe I will make one tutorial myself for the jump throw. What it basically does is if you it makes a very consistent combination of a jump and a throw, and this enables you to throw several smoke grenades on tricky positions very precisely. So this is something you can use if you want to know more about jump throw. Yeah, take a look at YouTube or at Google. Also, you can take a look at my previous tutorial on the configuration, where I've shown you the basic commands you need to enter into your auto-exit file in order to configure the jump throw for yourself. Next is the mute voice command. I've shown you guys this as well, but here again, to be complete, it's bound on F6, so if I press F6, all in-game voice is muted or it's unmuted again, and I have the volume control put on F7 and F8. Finally, I have the console key, which is F10 in my case, and I have the buy script, as I've said before, put to my numpad. And to go a little bit more into detail, I will quickly show you how I put my weapons here. On the multiplicator and the minus button, I have SMGs. On the next are the primary weapons. They are bound to 7, 8, 9, and the plus. The pistols are bound to 4, 5, and 6. And in the end, I have the grenades bound to 1, 2, 3, and the enter button. And also the Kevlar and diffuse, they are bound to 0 and the comma button. Okay, that's it for my configuration on my mouse and keyboard. I hope you guys liked the video. If you do so, yeah, put a like on YouTube or leave a comment. And otherwise, I wish you a great time playing CSGO and see you next time around.